I, the pure consciousness, or the self of self-awareness, would manifest the words of truth and the words of wisdom. Blessings be on my listener, the one who herself or himself has uncluttered from unnecessary drama and fog. Somebody during the week has inquired me about the human ego. I hope you understand the question. Somebody during the week has inquired me about the human ego, that what is human ego, and they are in a spiritual circle and they follow me quite a bit, and they say that they hear the word basically ego or human ego. So they inquired and they asked me that if I can elaborate on human ego in a lot of detail as I do. So you understand the inquiry from this particular person, that they have inquired about the human ego, and they are in a spiritual circle. So whenever they are reading or listening to spiritual retreats such as this one here, the one I'm conducting, they are saying that they hear a word ego or human ego. So what is that? So we are going to look into what is human ego and what kind of role it is playing in our society or in any society. What kind of practical role it is playing, what kind of awareness it is bringing by in while conducting the very process of life on the regular basis, and what human ego is doing in our daily life. As you have noticed that I have started the process of meditation very early in the last couple of days. During the week, of course, I'm working and I've been working quite a bit, but we had the long weekend here in America. I think today is a Monday, and I think it's a Remembrance Day or Labor Day. I can't remember exactly. One way or another, we have the day off. So, ego or human ego basically is ego or human ego is the production of human mind. He, that is the answer to the inquiry, and then we are going to look in a lot of detail. Before we get into it, please remember, before we get into it, please remember that no word in reality has any meanings, because no word in reality can explain a phenomena into its full extent. However, even the definition of a phenomena or something which is happening, whether it has a physical form or it does not have a physical form, no words can explain that to its entirety. Words are just marker, and the definition of the different phenomena varies from person to person and from society to society, even so from individual to individual. We have talked about that in the past. We are going to look at the definition of ego through the point of a mystic. So, ego is human mind gives birth to ego. Have you heard the term give birth? Human mind gives birth to ego. Ego actually points out or indicates in a very delusional way that this is what a person is. Are you following every word I'm saying? Ego basically pointing out or indicating in a delusional way that this is what a person is. Ego tells a person this is who you are. Have you not heard in the past when people get angry, that when people lash out, when there is a time for people to take responsibility or to apologize to somebody else, have you not heard that when they are in a rage, they say, "This is how I am," or "This is what I am"? Oh, the one which says that this is how I am or this is what I am is the ego. It's not the individual. The difference between the ego and the real individual is that real individual is which is not dented, which is not fragmented, or which is not demented. That's what the real individual is, which is the sense of self-awareness. Giving you a different name, giving you a different heritage, giving you a different history, giving you a family lineage, giving you a gender, giving you a part that you are assigned to play does not make you an individual. Please remember that. What makes you individual is the one who does not share all these traits with other individual. Because if you look around and you pay focus, please remember what I'm saying to you. If you look around and you pay focus, you realize that every other person you are coming in contact with has the same traits. Is that a fact or is not a fact? Every other person has a name, every other person carries some type of color of skin, every other person has a family heritage, every other person has a history, and every other person has um, a biological composition, every other person belongs to a culture, to a society, every other person has a gender, and then all the traits the person has picked up from the society. That sometime the person gets angry, sometime the person gets resentful, sometime the person has a pride on a delusion that this is what I am. So the one who says this is how I am or this is what I am is ego. Ego has no physical existence. Ego is abstract. It does not happen in the nature. You understand? Ego has no physical appearance. Ego has no. Ego is abstract. It is not natural. Ego is not natural. Ego does not happen in the nature. Ego is given birth by the human intellect, by the human mind. What is right, what is wrong, what is and what is not, what is true, what is false, all that human intellect. Human intellect only works on what is and what is not. You understand? And ego is given birth. Remember, given birth. Ego is given birth by human intellect. Egos are the concepts. Egos are the ideas. Egos are the belief. Ego are the assumptions a person has made about herself or himself. All that is ego. How a person reacts into certain scenarios and certain situations is ego. Sometimes human becomes so cluttered that when human gets angry or something which human must work on, but instead of doing that, human takes a lot of pride on those negative traits, and that is ego. You see? So you understand that ego is not playing any role. I wouldn't go even that far as calling it significant or dire. Ego is not playing any role in the society. Ego, it's the artificial pride the human takes on himself or herself. The artificial pride. The pride serves no any time when you take pride on anything. The pride serves no purpose. It does not play no practical role in your well-being and then in the society. Now you can see me clear. You see, I brought you from the darkness to light. Is that a fact or is not a fact? I brought you from the darkness to light. Now you can see me clearly. I brought the clarity in your perception. Every time you hear the sound of my voice, I am clearing your perception a little more each time. Have you noticed that? Ego. We have looked what ego is. Ego limits a person. Ego limits a person to do or make amends in their lives. Ego limits a person to make amends in their life. Ego limits a person to forgive themselves or the others around them. If knowingly or not knowingly they wrong somebody, ego limits a person. Ego stops a person. Ego is the checkering box in your mind. Ego is the listening of thoughts that you have picked from somewhere. When you were born, please follow my question and ask this question to yourself. When you were born, basically, did you have an ego? That's the question. When you were born, did you have an ego? One can answer to that is I don't know because I didn't have the awareness about myself. I didn't know as much about myself because I was only a baby. Isn't it? One can answer that. And that The answer to my question is hidden in your answer, if you are following what I'm saying. The answer of my question is hidden in your answer. What we understand that we are growing up, basically everyone who comes in contact with us, they hook our attention towards something. The parents, the family, it happens to everybody, so there is no one to blame. Please know that. I always highlight on that. It happens to everybody. This is how the entire dream of the humanity has been developed. Everyone hooks your attention. They tell you this is what you are. You are either a boy or you are either a girl. Further growing up, you are a male or a female. This is how a male acts. This is how a female acts. This is how a good man acts. This is how a bad man acts. This is domestication or human conditioning is something that you get the ego from. You understand? When you are born, you don't have no ego. You see, um, domestication or human conditioning is where the ego is uh, picked from. Ego is picked from human domestication and from human conditioning. First, the parents, then the siblings, then the relatives, cousins, the entire family system, the friends, the religious figures, the teachers, the online friends, the long distance friend, the relationships, every other person you came in contact with tells you something and hooks your attention. And human who were here before us, they prepare us to survive in this jungle. You understand? Now, survival in the jungle is, of course, significant because without some type of knowledge, it's not easy or sometimes it's not possible to survive in the human jungle, which is fine. It's important for the survival. But once the survival is taken care of, it's not necessary to carry that image, which is ego. You see, I am answering your inquiry through numerous perspectives, not just one perspective, not just two perspectives, but I am answering your inquiry through numerous perspectives. You understand? So it's not necessary. Survival is important, yes. The knowledge to survive among humans in the dream of humanity is important, but it's not important to carry that role you are playing. It's not important to carry the model you are playing all the time. The problem comes from when you are by yourself, you still think that role or the model is you. But no, it's not. The difference between a mystic, you see, the difference between a mystic or a wise man or a sage and an average person is a mystic, wise man, sage, or a rishi does not carry that image all the time and has the awareness that this image is abstract. It does not exist anywhere but in my mind. So you put the mask on when it is needed for your survival in the society, but do not rigid to the mask. You see that if you see a mask, there are usually a rubber band with the mask. So sometime that rubber band with the mask is does not have a lot of elasticity. You know, it's a tight one. So the rubber band becomes so rigid and tight around the mask that it becomes very impossible or difficult for a person to take it off when they are by themselves, you see. And for me, um, I take the mask off. The reason I'm mentioning myself is when you are alone by yourself, you should fall back to what you really are, but not what the role you are playing. Again, that is ego. The role, what you perceive about yourself, what you think of yourself, through a thinking mind, what you think. Um, Remember, not long ago in one of the retreats, we talked about that what you think about yourself or what others think of you is not you as long as there is a thinking involved. If you want to know your true self, or sometimes we use a term, your higher self, then you have to go beyond the thought process. Through the thought process, what you understand about yourself or what others think of you is the very perception is ego. Through the thinking process, what you understand about yourself is ego, and it does not play any role, any practical role in our society. The only role it plays that the words which are marker starting from the own name, you see, for the identification purpose, so people can function in the society, which is fine, which is very dandy and fine. There is nothing against it. However, when you become rigid to it and you think this is me, that's where the suffering starts. Then you don't learn that what is letting go. You see, you become too attached to your creation. You become too attached to your creation and you think this is me. This is where the suffering comes from. This is not you. This is what you learn to be. There are two separate things. They are two separate things. One, this is not you, and two, what is really you. The one which is not you is what you have learned to be. You understand? If you have that much clarity, if you have that much awareness while conducting the life process, your life becomes very easy. In other words, what I'm saying, ego has only significance when a person has to function in the society for some time, going to work, functioning among humans, buying groceries, traveling, interacting with others. That's fine. Then you can play the role. But as soon as you are alone by yourself, you stop playing the role. You see, that's the best way to deal with it. You would only have that kind of clarity when you not only listen to the words of truth and wisdom, but you dedicate or at least try to make some time for yourself. You see, I always stress on it. You saw I started this retreat when there was dark everywhere. You see, and now the sun is coming out, which is a beautiful thing. What, in other words, I am saying is the first thing in the morning. I go around, I wake up very early, sometimes 4, sometimes 3:30, because my prana, prana means um, my life energies. My life energies are very high. so I don't need much rest. Remember, other day we mentioned the one who is resting within themselves don't need much rest because I rest in myself. So I wake up very early and then I look around if anything needs my attention, so I attend to it. If not, I prepare myself for early morning Kriya Yoga and meditation. I sit and make time, and I do not try to create no philosophies. This time is not for the ego. I put the ego aside. There is no ego here. There is no thought process here. This is not what we do in our yogic culture. Thought has nothing to do with yoga or yogic culture. See, so we put all that aside because it's not needed right now. Otherwise, we will be preoccupied and wouldn't accumulate or encompass this energy. Even right now, I am answering your inquiry in a very elaborate manner, and yet I have no thought in my mind. So learn to sit. Have you learned to sit yet? Ego, the human ego, gives birth to the concepts. Remember, the concepts not real. Human ego gives birth to the concepts such as you and I. That you and I is abstract, it's not in nature, it's not real. You and I only exist in human mind. Once somebody asked Jiddu Krishnamurti about ego, and Jiddu Krishnamurti answered to such a person that bring your awareness to a point where there remains no you and I. You see the answer and the brilliance of his wisdom, a true mystic. He answered to such a person, bring your awareness to a point where there remains no you and I, where there remains just the truth of the moment, and let that truth act. Then you would have an entirely different type of life energy. Please know that.